This is Andy Purewal for ID Boxing. I'm joined by Josh Warrington over Zoom. Josh, always a pleasure. How's life up? I was about to say sunny Leeds. It looks like it's as miserable there as how it is where I am.
Yeah, it's a bit dark. It's well, half because blinds are half closed, but yeah, it's been pretty dark today. Pretty wet weather compared to yesterday and Monday was a gorgeous day. But yeah, it's spring, isn't it? This is what happens in spring. We get warm weather and we get wet weather.
Yeah, we certainly do. And hopefully you'll have some warm news for us to keep everybody happy. Waiting for an update as to what's next for you, Josh. I know you was kind of waiting to see how the Maurizio Lara Lee Wood situation played out. They've obviously announced their rematch now for May 27th, leaving you without a potential opponent out of them two. So yeah, where do things currently stand for yourself?
Um, so yeah, after they boxed in middle of February. I was told that I would be fighting the winner, and this was prior to the fight actually. Obviously, I was down there in Nottingham, and I was told, regardless of what happened, even if they had a total barnstormer where there was 17 knockouts between them both, and it ended in a controversial split decision or whatever, that I would still get the winner. Um, you know, Regardless of public demand or demand of it, both fighters, I would still get the winner. And I got into training. I mean, I was training anyway from mid-January, but I got into training with the belief that I would be fighting um, either one of them at some stage. Obviously, we later found out it was Lara, and then with this spitting incident, it added a little bit more spice to it. So I certainly had the bit between my teeth going into the gym. Of thinking to myself, right, this is it. By the time this fight comes up, I'm going to be so ready and in shape that I'm just going to be able to play with him for 12 rounds. And yeah, I was negotiating, well, not negotiating, but liaising with my manager Steve Wood and Frank Smith, and for a fair few number of weeks, and then you start worrying because you start seeing bits and bats of information getting leaked out, and some person's done this interview and this has been said, and first you're thinking, no, you know what's going on, but then another week passes, then another week passes, then another week passes, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what, this is not looking likely, is it? And I'd been told to get ready for the date of May 27th, the first direct arena in Leeds, and then last week I had a phone call to say that deal couldn't be made, and Lee Wood would definitely be getting the rematch underway for the same proposed night, and that's the end of that. And yeah, that's the situation we're in.
So Josh, just going back to when Maurizio and Lee Wood fought in Nottingham, but obviously the talk of a rematch clause back then, was you under kind of no uncertain terms that you would have that basically made no difference whether there was a rematch clause or not? From what Matchroom had told you, you was due to line up against one of them, and obviously since then Lee's decided to put his foot down and be like, no, I've got this clause, I'm going in for a rematch.
Yeah, I was. That didn't matter back then. It didn't matter. I was gonna fight. So that was under my impression. Um, and against everything, Lee's decided to take the fight. Be against everything. I believe that a few other people didn't want him to go straight into it, but he has done so. Um, I believe that it's maybe a little bit too soon for him. It may prove me wrong on May 27th, but coming off all right, let's call it a heavy knockdown because he got up, but then the fight was stopped, obviously retired in the corner. He shouldn't have been able to spar for a fair few weeks. He was obviously caught. Punch more punch trauma to the head. Might be the wrong decision, might be the right decision. We'll soon find out, I guess. But yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed because I believe that you know myself and Lee would be a bigger fight. Um, But if he gets beat again, then that goes pissing in wind, doesn't it?
Josh, that seems to be a bit of a story of your career. Obviously, there was at one point where you seemed like you was going to go out to Vegas, have that big following, follow you out there. Then obviously Wood-Lara comes along, ruins those plans. You come back, you have the rematch in Leeds, and then we saw the head clash causing the halt to that fight. And you've kind of been waiting for a second crack at things. You go and beat Kiko Martinez, and then we see obviously what happens then with Lopez. When you look at kind of how your career's unfolded over these last couple of years, how would you assess it and where it's left you within the featherweight division?
I don't know. It's a good question, Andy. To be fair, because I feel that last year would have frustrated one. Obviously, started out fantastic, then broken jaw, and then obviously the way that he finished with the Lopez fight wasn't fantastic. But I know where I went wrong in that fight. It were a bit of a situation that I'd never come up against before. I'm not talking about the fight itself. I'm just talking about coming off the injury that I did do. And I didn't realize how much it'd play in my mind, in terms of like being concerned about it. And obviously it affected me for first half of the fight, and then because of the way that finished the second fight, I kind of got it out of my head and really cracked on towards the second half of the fight. But yeah, it would a bit of annoyance really, because I've come straight back into the gym. Or I did do it mid-January, and I've sparred plenty of times since. I had a few ding dongs in gym with some lads, Maxi and Reese, and I know that it's all good there, so I can put that to bed. But on my reflection, looking back, maybe a fight in between wouldn't have been so bad, just to make sure that everything was good up there. But no, I went straight into the mandatory challenge, and probably added a bit more pressure as well, Andy. I think AJ has been talking about pressure and what it can do to a fight and stuff, and I certainly felt like that in the change rooms of the First Direct Arena on December 10th. I kind of felt like, just get this one done, Josh. Just get this one done. Just get this one done, because I felt like I'd come full circle. I'd vacated the belt at 2020, beat by Lara, then I draw, and then I managed to win the world title back. It's like, right, I'm back in position here. I've got a bargaining tool again. I can start looking at unification fights. I can start looking at America. It's been paused for 2 years, but now it's back on the table. All I've got to do is get past this fight here and get it done, get out of the way, and they'll have a full year of 2023 or 9 or 10 months to just, like I say, take them boxes, take them the big fights we've been winning, and then see where we go from there. But like I say, all let's do with get past Lopez, and that it did add bits and bits of pressure to me as the weeks went by and it got closer. I remember saying training room thinking, right, just get this fucking one done, make sure that jaw was all right, and too many variables that I wouldn't normally fucking stress myself out about, but I did, and I think they might have a part to play into how I started.
Josh, now you look at where you go and what potential fights are out there. Obviously, you got Conlan and Lopez tied up on the same night as Lara Wood too. So certainly over here in the UK, but what are you looking at as a potential fight? Not necessarily just a UK opponent. There could be someone coming over from another part of the world, but who's in the frame to face you come whatever date you're looking at?
Well, obviously, Conlan Lopez tied up. Obviously, I'd love to have the rematch with Lopez, but in his own words, he'd never entertain me in that aspect. So I'd have to make myself mandatory. So that would mean like final eliminators. Isaac Dogbo boxed a fella on weekend.
Ramirez.
Yeah, that was for the WBO interim, I believe. So I'm not too sure if what's he called? Who's moved up at WBO? What's he called?
I
My
believe
mind's
that,
on
that
blank
was
here.
that was for the full version. Navarrete's moved up.
Navarrete, yeah. So it moved up, and you know, we're unsure if that were for the full version or not.
Yeah,
Was
it
it for the full
was.
version?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So well, obviously that one's just been contested for. The only man who's left is obviously well, not obviously, but Ray Vargas, and he stepped up to super feather, and he was unsuccessful there. But he still holds the belt at feather. I'm ranked number 2 in the WBC rankings. So, you know, he's been over here before. So the glorious All Ice Arena to fight Gav McDonald. You know, why couldn't he come over here again and fight myself? You know, it'd be a big fight for him, both coming off losses. You know, and he's potentially a fight that could, you know, put him back up there, but at the same time, it's a massive fight for me.
What do you think is the most likely opponent next for you, Josh?
Well, I'm gonna tell them. Well, I have already, you know, spoke to Frank about, you know, going, you know, for the Vargas one, or looking at, you know, final eliminator for like the IBF again, or because you know, the WBA is gonna, it's got a mandatory as well. The fellow who just beat Tommy Ward, and I'm not too sort of short situation with WBO, but you know, I don't want to be like, and maybe it sound like a bit of a sport child here, but you know, that's 6 world title fights. Shouldn't have to like go right down pecking order. It's not like I just got chinned in December when I got like an hiding. I lost a close fight, you know, a split decision fight, or majority decision. You know, some people believe I won, some people believe I drawn, some people believe I lost. You know, it was a close fight, but there was no disgrace to it. And even fighters who I've boxed in the past, Kid Gallard, you know, I beat him in a close fight. He kicked up a big stink about it, and he walks into a fucking final eliminator in his next fight, and then his mandatory challenger again. You know, sometimes I wish, or maybe I know myself, because I think if I were fucking more of a diva and started kicking off and, you know, shouting and screaming, which, you know, don't normally do, just leave it to the boxing to do the talking, then would I be, you know, looking at a fan eliminator myself? But that's what your promoters and your managers and, you know, the other team around you are supposed to be doing, you know, making sure they can give you the fights rather than ourselves, you know, doing absolutely everything.
You mentioned the WBA situation. I actually saw Ben Davison earlier and spoke to him about the Wood-Lara too, and he mentioned, you know, the WBA were ready to order the Kolmatov fight, hence why they've gone in there, made the Lara rematch immediately, because we didn't want to obviously see that just bypass them, so the mandatory could be called. So with that in mind, also looking at domestic names, for yourself, depends on whether you'd want to wait or not. But it seems to be the hope would be that Michael Conlan defeats Lopez, because I recall interviewing Conlan after your fight with Lopez, and he said he'd still fight you without a title because he knows how big of a draw you'd be. So if he was to go and pick that one up, I'd imagine that would be a big fight, whether it take place over in Ireland or over here in the UK.
Yeah, most definitely. That could be a massive fight. And listen, why not? Why not America? You know, he's boxed in the Madison Square Garden. I've talked about how much I want to go over there as well. So, you know, that could be a good fight there. You know, I think both sets of fans would travel. You know, that takes a couple of boxes, one fight there, doesn't it? But yeah, you know, it's one thing that I'd said as well. I'd said that you know, I told Lee after he'd lost on that night, I went into his change rooms and I said to Lee, listen, I'll give you the fight. I'll
Josh,
and
you just cut out there as you said. You mentioned Lee's name. Can you just go back over what you'd said?
yeah, no worries, mate. I'm just fucking on my phone in the hand. Now, just saying, I did say to Lee in his change room, I went in after the fight and I said to him, you know, let me take care of Lara. you know, and because I strongly believe that, you know, another fight with Lara, I would get the job done. I know I started this mess, you know, I created this mess, and you know, I think it's up to me to clean it all up and you know, put it to bed, and um, you know, that was one of my things there. I would have been happy to fight Lara, you know, just for my own personal thing, get that done, and then I believe that, you know, the fight with Wood would be a massive domestic fight, but he gets beat again by Lara, then it's not. Do you know what I mean? It goes, it just loses it completely there. So yeah, you know, it's sometimes, and it has been said by a few different promoters that, you know, that if the fight's big enough, you don't need belts, and if it gets, you know, it has a big enough draw and it's exciting enough, then you know, the styles and everything else, then it doesn't need belts on the line. And you know, potentially that could be with Conlan, potentially that could be with Wood if he is successful. But for myself, I've set myself a goal now, become a 3-time world champion. So I would want to be fighting, you know, like I said, Ray Vargas, or um, you know, the WBA kid, or maybe potentially a winner of Conlan Lopez.
Josh, just get your thoughts on the Conor and Lopez fight. Who do you think comes out on top? What's your take on that fight?
Um, it's a good question. It's a good question. I think it's going to be like a bit of a chess match in times. There were times when Conlon applied pressure to Lee Wood, using his long boxing. But it, like I say, it was long. Lopez likes he's awkward and throws a lot of punches in you know, in spurts, but I certainly did with myself in the first stages. That probably because I was fucking stood there just tucking up. Um, it probably won't have as much chance to get them shots off. So I think that's where it's going to be a little bit messy. I think I could see a little bit of clinching and holding on in the first couple of stages, but I think Connor's going to just start to box him in the last stages, and probably take it on points, just by outboxing him and letting the clean shots and moving off.
Josh, just away from your division, but sticking with your camp, there's been a few reports come out, nothing official, but that a certain Maxi Hughes will be facing George Kambosos next. Can you fill us in?
I think the man to do that is Maxi Hughes, but you know, I do believe that they've been in negotiation for a number of months now. You know, Maxi has not been active since he boxed Kid Gallad last August, and obviously that's not great when he's done no over the last couple of years but win, you know, and it's not good when you're not having that, you're not taking advantage of that momentum, and you know he's been, you know, you would have thought he's got in a position now to get a real big fight, and all right, you can't complain because, you know, some of the belts have been tied up with either Lopez or Teofimo Lopez, I'm talking about there, or Devin Haney. And but yeah, that's a massive fight for him. You know, at one point I think they were talking about him fighting Gary Cully, which does nothing for Maxi. If anything, it's like a step back, and for Gary Cully, it would have been everything to gain and nothing to lose. But you know, for Maxi, it's like he boxed like round Walsh last year, and he boxed Kid Galad. Like really, they were up to gain fights as well. And previous to that, he was in Edinley and he boxed, you know, the big dangerous fella who knocked out James Tennyson. So, you know, looking like this is going to be an absolute massive fight for him. And, you know, I just believe that they're close to getting a deal over the line and should have an announcement very shortly.
Josh, just another couple of other topics to get your thoughts on. I know PEDs within boxing, something you're very vocal about, and those who get caught. And
Yes.
obviously today we saw the news that Amir Khan had failed a UKAD test on the night of his fight with Cal Brook. I just wanted to get your thoughts when you saw that news break.
Just devastated, Andy. I'm fucking sick of it. I'm sick of seeing it, man. Honestly, it's man, it's just it's shite, innit? It's fucking terrible, man. It winds me up. It does, honestly. It really winds me up. Sports fucked at times. It really is. Like, talk, on and on about this earlier with a couple of my pals, but I've said it many times. I've probably said it to you, the same to yourself, but this is a sport where it's an art, it's a science, but it's one sport where you cause conflicts with each other. You hurt each other. Even though it's 98% of the fighters are gentlemen and they shake hands after, and you get like a bond with an opponent. You still, whilst that contest, is going on, you have to do what you can to win and cause it and inflict as much pain, because otherwise they walk away the winner, their journey goes on, their career continues, and you kind of get left sat waiting. And like I say, some fighters come away with fuck all, lose a lot of faculties, permanent damage, and it's a very, very cold place to be. Obviously, I hadn't experienced that myself because I'm not retired. I'm still active, but seeing other fighters and speaking to other fighters who are retired, get the impression it's a very lonely place, Andy. My point is, like, the fucking sport is hard enough as it is. You know what I mean? And you're having people there taking fucking whatever to get that extra edge. But the more it goes on, I'm not surprised. Like, I always fucking talk about the documentary careers. Fucking whenever there's a pound note, a dollar, a fucking yen, or whatever, people are always going to cheat to try and be the best. But like I say, boxing's barbaric. So for myself, you've been caught once. There should be no fucking explanation. You should be fucking banned. Like, that's it. We've all got responsibilities as fighters, and like when you get to a certain level, you sign up to UKAD, you sign up to fucking VADA or whatever, and you get given websites, you get given information to make sure you fucking double check everything that you're taking in the supplements. If you're fucking feeling a bit ill, you can't just walk into Boots or local chemist and just grab anything off the shelf. You've got to look at the details. If you're unsure about it, you can ring UKAD, you can ring fucking WADA, you can ring the board, ring your own doctor. If you're having an operation and you fucking may have to find out what kind of anesthetics or whatever they're putting in you, and you've got to clear all that stuff. And we've got websites we can go on where you can fucking, right, you know what, I don't feel too clever, right, what's this here? I'll put it in my phone here, fucking global DRO. Bastard, that's banned, that, I can't fucking take that. Do you know what I mean? So, but obviously some of the stuff that some fighters coming out with it, not stuff what you can just buy over fucking counter. There's no reason why it should be there, and it frustrates me, Andy. It really does. It fucking, because the circus that boxing is like, if there's enough drama and enough attention, then it gets swept on the carpet, doesn't it? And the fucking always raised around to make these fights happen. So yeah, I've just going to see when you see stuff like that, it's not nice to see, mate. It's not nice to see. It's frustrating.
Josh, the handling over PEDs within sports only over in the UK and boxing's been a talking point as to how the board have handled it all. And up until when it first broke, Ben Shalom did interviews from boxers saying that they weren't notified back in April or anytime sooner. They only found out on the morning, like everybody else, yesterday now, that Amir had failed his test. And he said that Robert Smith had only found out the night before. now it's come out today that but apparently Robert Smith had found out on the same time in the same period when Amir Khan did last April. What are your thoughts on that? And then Amir Khan and Robert knowing for a year now.
Well, fuck me. Well, speechless, mate. Fucking speechless. Yeah. Oh man, fuck me. Yeah. I don't feel like I can continue talking about it, to be fair, mate. Because I might say something that I shouldn't. But yeah, it's fucking disgraceful.
Yeah, obviously I don't want to get you in trouble, Josh.
Yeah.
So
Obviously that's the first I've heard of that bit we just said there. So yeah, I've gonna have to have some time to process that, mate. Because yeah, it's fucking interesting.
Josh, I obviously know you're a very passionate man with everything you say, and like I say, this topic in particular is something which touches home with yourself. So yeah, I don't want to find yourself getting in trouble with something you might say. So we will move on from that. But just to stick with it all, get your thoughts on the most recent developments with Conor Benn. It seems to be he's going to be looking to get a license outside of the UK now. Just your thoughts if he goes down that route.
Um, Again, I think I just said to you a second ago, Andy, that it doesn't matter, does it? That if there's enough eyes and enough attention on it, then you know people find a way around it. So it's become a bit of a laughing stock now, and obviously Connor still protests his innocence. Still argues that he's done nothing wrong. We get to see that report that's been done, with his with an innocence in there, but he's not the first, is he? And I doubt he'll be the last.
Right, Josh, we'll leave it there now because you've got training in about 20 minutes' time, so you need to shoot over to the gym. And obviously, like I said, I don't want to get you in trouble with anything you might say. So I appreciate you jumping on to do this Zoom. I will see you soon. Thank you for speaking to me.
Cheers, Andy. Thank you, mate.